We're going to be covering 5 things in today's video. Why we chose the bikes that we did. We're going to give you a tour of the factory in Salt Lake City. And the assembly process.
You missed the custom fit process and what we decided we like and don't like after a year of use.
We're still missing one. In today's video, we're going to cover 5 things. The first is why we chose the bikes that we did. Then we're going to take you on a tour of the assembly plant in Salt Lake City. And then we're going to go through the custom fit process, or semi-custom fit process.
And then we'll see what they look like when they ship them to us, the assembly process, what we like and don't like after a year of riding.
So hopefully by the end, you guys will have the tools you need to make a decision whether this semi-custom fit process and this company are right for you.
We're Nathan and Tiffany. We own a wellness practice where we have dedicated our professional lives to helping people achieve, maintain, and enjoy wellness. We also love a great adventure. This is the channel where those two loves align.
And they have a pretty awesome mountain range.
I'd have to
Getting a backstage tour. Say hi.
Hey! So we've been in this building about a little under 2 years right now, and our old building could probably sit beside this fence, but we've grown up recently.
So your business is doing well.
Yeah. A lot of folks coming.
Whoa!
Uh-huh.
So somebody who owns this is happy.
Oh yeah.
So this is Fezzari's headquarters, and Nathan and I just came and picked out our brand new mountain bikes. We're super excited.
So I'm super excited. I got my new bike in Fezzari and we're gonna open it up today. This is a cool little feature. Proudly built by Thomas. Tiffany, enjoy your new Wasatch Peak. That's awesome.
Are you going riding somewhere?
I just got a new bike.
Oh, you just got it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Fezzari one?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm from Utah, so I like to mountain
That's
bike.
where we got it.
No way, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Utah.
Can I try it out? Well, that was fast.
Can you even get your legs to touch? I can't do that, you show off.
Back in December of 2021, we had the opportunity to go out to Salt Lake City to the facility that manufactures the bike, or the headquarters really. And we got our custom fitting done there. And then about 5 or 6 months later, it took a little while because of supply chain issues, thanks COVID. And we've had the bikes and been able to ride them for about a year.
So Fezzari has a whole line of bikes. They have mountain bikes, they have road bikes, full suspension, front suspension only, or what we would call a hardtail. We're coming from full suspension bikes. We had already decided that we wanted to go back to hardtail. So we went out there knowing that we were at the headquarters. We got measured for our semi-custom, what those components were going to be. And you would think, being the same height, or roughly the same height, Tiffany's a half an inch shorter than I am. She has an inseam 3 inches longer than mine. You would think we're on the same frame, but we're not because of that difference. So she ended up on a medium, and I'm on a small, which actually I probably need to be on an extra small, but they don't have that. Our standover heights are right at the edge of where they should be. So nowadays, it's really hard to get a 26-inch wheel on a mountain bike. Everything's 29ers, or the in-between size, 27.5. I really prefer the smaller wheel size. I feel like I'm more agile. I feel like because of my size as a human being, I fit better on that bike. Tiffany really liked the 29er when she tried it because it gave her the rollover ability to get over obstacles easier. So she went with the 29er. I went with the 27.5. So again, another example how this is a semi-custom bike.
So now I want to talk about why would we switch from a full suspension to a hardtail. So when I was young, when I first started mountain biking, I actually had a fully rigid Trek many, many, many years ago. We're 45 now, and I think I started mountain biking when I was like 12-ish, maybe 11. And then we decided to go to full suspension. It was all the rage. But the thing is I always found that it felt heavier. It felt like I lost a lot of energy in climbing, and I preferred to have I wanted to feel more connected to the ground. You think the same?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't grow up mountain biking. You actually introduced me to it.
But he's way better than me.
One of our early anniversaries, you got us kind of an entry-level front suspension only bike.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So we rode those for a little while, and then we thought going full suspension was an upgrade, which really nice on long rides, which I'm not really in shape to do those 30-mile rides anymore.
We used to be.
But again, I agree that the extra weight, at least at the time for the technology that was there, and also I didn't quite get the feedback. I was used to having feedback from the bike and how it connected with the ground, and the suspension in the back kind of takes away from that a little bit.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, when you look at people who are racing, they're still riding full suspension bikes, but it's all about personal preference. So we decided to switch back. And then the next big question was, do we want carbon fiber or an aluminum alloy? And we originally were going to go with the carbon fiber because honestly, if you're looking for a carbon fiber bike, you're not going to find a better frame for a price than from Fezzari. But we ultimately decided, for sort of a weird reason, we take our bikes on a lot of trips on places where we don't want the bikes to be a target and for people to steal it, really. And then also because we decided to go hardtail, the carbon fiber frames are more rigid and there's a little bit more flex to the aluminum alloy frames. So that is sort of a step in between going from a full suspension to a carbon fiber hardtail. That would be a rougher ride.
Now, honestly, when we used to race and ride a lot, I'd probably be able to tell you that difference or feel that difference. Now, maybe not so much, but we hope to get back there.
Well, I feel like our bones are a little bit more sensitive, so we would probably feel it.
Certainly my butt is more sensitive, and I'm questioning the decision to go hardtail.
Well, fortunately, I mean, but back in the day when we used to ride 30 miles at a time, that probably would have been a bad decision. Now we ride 8 to 12 miles at a time.
I'm riding 20 tomorrow morning.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I can try.
So the next thing that you can kind of dictate of what you would like to have on your bike is your tires. So we both have Maxxis. My tires are a bit wider. They're the Maxxis Recon Plus. They have a more aggressive tread. Tiffany's is the Ardent Pro. It's a great tire, but a little narrower compared to mine and not as aggressive tread. We used to ride, when we were racing, brand Pana Racer, and they were the Fire Cross Country Pro.
I like those a lot.
I really like those as well. Had a really aggressive outside nub, gave you a lot of confidence in the turns. And really, that's probably us relying on the psychological part of relying on your equipment and trusting the bike, which we're still getting back into.
Yeah. The other thing that we got for the very first time in all of our biking careers is a dropper post. So none of our bikes in the past had ever had one. And I will tell you that for me personally, I'm just starting to get comfortable with the idea of even using it. I think it's probably a great tool, especially obviously in the downhills, but I used to, in order to get far enough back in certain steep downhills, I would almost hook my pants getting back over, or I couldn't bend my knees as much as I would like to absorb it. So I have started to use the dropper post, but more often than not, I just forget to use it. But I would also tell you that my dropper post originally was a little too tall, and the company was great about switching it out. We just told them it was too big. They sent us out a new one. We sent them back the other one, and it was no big deal.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That process was really smooth. I'm also just getting used to the dropper post, or we don't have a lot of opportunities to use it like you would. We're not doing a lot of downhill with the cross country. It's up and down. So again, just like Tiffany said, I forget to use it. I did do some dirt jumps recently and had the opportunity to put it down. And I actually found, and maybe this is an error in my technique, I actually like it about halfway down. So it gets it out of my way, but I still have something that I can steer with when I'm in the air. So I can use my legs to push against it when I need to. Again, it may be a technique thing, but I found that I like that too. But the posts we have are very flexible. You can put it halfway, all the way, wherever you want.
I'm not that good. Mine is either up or down. Let's just be clear in this video, we're not experts. I think I would consider us, we used to race adventure racing, and we had a fairly successful career doing that, and I've mountain biked a long, long time. But in terms of like our ability to review gear, this is probably most useful for someone who's like an intermediate to like advanced intermediate rider.
I was going to say amateur intermediate.
Oh, okay. I'm being arrogant and he's being humble. Sorry. Let's just go with intermediate. But, you know, it's someone that can feel the difference between some of the higher end componentry. Like if you can't tell the difference between this bike and a mountain bike from say Walmart, then this is probably not that valuable for you. But if you're racing on like a $30,000 mountain bike, then you're probably going to think that this isn't such a great review.
Right. We know that we're saying things maybe out of turn, but again, this is directed,
that's the point of it. This is our experience.
This is directed to the recreational rider. We're certainly at the recreational
middle-aged.
We're certainly at the recreational price point, which correct me if I'm wrong, I think we were about 1,300.
We're going to have to put that here.
Yeah, okay. We'll correct that.
We'll correct that.
You know, but the other thing, when she mentioned componentry, there's also your brakes. There's also your forks or your front shocks. There's also your drivetrain. And those are things that, again, back when we were riding a lot, I could have probably told you more specifically the big differences between what we're used to, what we liked, and what we didn't like. But immediately, I could tell you some things on these bikes. For example, we have SRAM disc brakes, hydraulic disc brakes on these bikes. Previously, we had the Shimano. I'd have to look up the models of each. One thing I liked on the Shimano in terms of a technical point of view was that I could adjust where the base brake pad was. This system that we have on there now with the SRAMs doesn't allow me to do that. So when the brakes get soft, it requires me to bleed it instead of just making that adjustment. As far as forks, we went for the highest model fork that we could get on it. So we have a RockShox fork on there. Again, I can't remember the model, but it's one of the higher ones.
Is it a Recon?
That's what we used to have.
Let's go find out.
We used to have a Recon Gold. We elected to go with a higher end. We have RockShox Recon now, so it's a higher end for what's on the market. I don't know how it compares to the old Recon Gold, but it's really good. It's
I like the front fork.
Yeah, it's not just a spring. You know, there's air. You can adjust the rebounding. You can adjust the pressure.
And they give you the tool to do that with the bike, I think. Or at least
we asked for it.
We asked for it and they gave it to us, I believe. Yep. That was nice.
Yep. It's a Fezzari tool. RockShox used to come with it. I don't know if they don't do that anymore. I think that's what Fezzari told us, but they gave us one when we asked for it.
Another thing that we switched out, which is probably going to be super controversial among other bikers, is that clipless pedals, we hate them. And we've always hated them. I actually
don't even know why they're called clipless.
They're not clipless. They're definitely clips. I don't understand it. But anyway, I tried riding them for a year. And let me just tell you, I had some of the worst crashes of my freaking life. And the final one where I was upside down and the bike is hanging from my shoes, I was like swearing and carrying on. I was like, I'm done with them. What we raced with, what I rode with as a kid, what we raced with, because in venture racing, you have to like get off the bike constantly, run and do something. So we raced with like cages, which people thought was super antiquated and crazy, but we decided this time just to switch to flats, and so far I really like them.
Yeah, I really like the cages. It allowed me to be really aggressive when I was riding because I could lean into the cage, and so that gave me the confidence to lean the bike really far and not feel like I was going to lose footing off the pedal. Speaking of confidence, that's probably why I didn't like the clipless pedals. I was always second guessing myself, and so I actually rode worse. And everybody said, just stick with it, stick with it, stick with it. But like Tiffany said, after a few wrecks, you don't want to stick with it anymore.
I mean, I stuck with it for a year, a full year.
I didn't give it that long. I gave up on them. But now, like she said, it's kind of a trend to go back to flats. So we're on that trend, and I think it's making me a better rider. I'm not riding as aggressive as I used to, partly because I'm not riding as much, but also having flats requires you to be balanced on your pedals. And where I used to lean into the cages, I can't do that now. So ultimately, I think it's going to make me a better rider. It's certainly more convenient than having to change your shoes all the time and everything.
Like, I'll get my nerdy on for a second. So the theory behind the clip pedals was that it allowed you to use your hamstring to pull up more. And then there was this other research study that I actually watched them doing the research in the lab, and it turns out that wasn't more efficient. So I think that's part of the shift back to flats, is that it was kind of a myth that ability to pull with your hamstrings actually improved efficiency.
Yeah, I think it depends on who you talk to. If you talk to a lot of racers or pro racers, they're gonna tell you all different reasons why they use them.
I think it's also what you're used to, what you're accustomed to.
Sure.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what we did. We went to flats. So far, so good.
So another thing we have to talk about is the drivetrain. We previously had, I think, a 3x9 drivetrain, so 3 chain rings in the front and a cassette with 9 sprockets in the back. We're on
Overkill. It was overkill.
Oh yeah, I always was in my middle. I only used my big chain ring in the front for the really high gear I needed, and the small one in the front for the really low gear. We're 1x now, so much more convenient. You get not way less. You get 0 chain crossover, which is better for your chain life. You know, your chain's not popping off all the time. It's easier to adjust the derailleurs because you only have 1 instead of 2, and it's just easier too when you're riding. You have one derailleur to think about. You upshift, you downshift. You're not thinking about, okay, is it time to move chain rings? There's so much crossover, I think. So we're really happy with the 1x decision. Although I do think that my highest gear is not high enough.
Agreed.
You know, on a good downhill where we're getting lots of speed, I feel like I want to go faster. I can't.
I would sacrifice my 1 lowest gear for 1 higher gear.
Yeah, I think my lowest gear is too low.
I agree.
So I need to do the math and figure out how to change the front chain ring to make all that work in the back.
And we're gonna have to count some teeth.
Yeah, I'm not planning on changing the rear cassette and any of the sprockets on that. I think changing the front chain ring will solve that for us.
The next thing I'd like to cover is the assembly process. And actually, I thought, I mean, to be fair, if you look at the video, I'm like mostly a spectator. Like Nathan's the tech guy. I don't know. It came in a really sturdy box. They give you a little custom match message, which was really nice. And then it was very easy to assemble. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. So it was a bit intimidating because you don't know how many pieces it's going to come in, but it really wasn't a big deal. The other thing is, this is probably one of the potential biggest negatives. It all depends on where you buy your bike. So our previous bikes, the shop we bought them from gave us tune-ups for life.
We didn't take advantage of that.
We didn't take advantage of that?
This is what I remember. I remember every time you needed a tune-up, we had to drop it off and be without our bike. Over time, I just acquired the knowledge and skill to do it. The only thing I wasn't really comfortable with at the time was the hydraulic brakes and how to bleed that and get those adjusted correctly. And front forks, we had a situation where we had to rebuild our shocks. I wasn't comfortable with that. Everything else, which if you're riding any amount of time, you should be able to get comfortable with how to adjust your derailleur, how to maintain your chain, how to do those things. And we were able to do that. So maybe in the beginning we took advantage of that, but over time we definitely started doing that more and more on my own, even to the point where we're doing the brakes on our own. It's just the shocks now that I wouldn't do.
By we, you mean you.
Yeah.
So that's the other solution, is to have a buddy that's really good at it, and then you can not worry about it.
So I want to just be clear, the bikes are semi-custom. They're designed, the frames, the geometry, everything's designed here at their factory at Salt Lake City. And that's where they're assembled. But the componentry and even the frames, they're not actually produced here. They're not made here. So again, as Tiffany mentioned earlier, because of COVID, we had some supply chain issues. It took a little while to get our bikes. But I just want to be clear that they're not completely manufactured and built in the United States. I'd say they're designed and built in the United States.
Yeah. For me, the medium frame is just a touch, maybe like just on the highest end of what would fit. But a small was too small for me. So, and same thing for Nathan. Small is just a touch too big, but they don't even make an extra small. So that was his only option.
My previous bike was an extra small frame. And
it was way too small for me. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that you do the whole custom fit process and it's real close, but it's not totally exact.
Well, there's some gray area.
Yeah.
And because we had our fitting process done at the factory with one of their guys, we were able to ask questions, get their professional opinion, and we ended up where we did. And I'm still happy.
Yeah, well, and it was probably more accurate because we had actually taken the measurements at home and then compared it to their measurements, and they were slightly different. So one of the things I really like about the bigger frame for me is that the riding position feels more natural. I always felt like I was going to go over the front of my old bike. It's like the whole wheelbase was just too small. So with the 29-inch tires and the bigger frame, I just feel more like centered over the bike.
That also has to do with your stem, which based on your dimensions, they decide what size stem you're going to have. So there's other components there too.
I think just the fact that the bike was more custom made to my body makes the bike feel more custom.
Yeah.
I mean,
it took a lot of pressure off your wrist. You used to have a lot of trouble with your hands falling asleep.
Yeah. I have some issues with that because I work really hard physically with my hands. So I have some challenges with that. And my old bike, oh my gosh, it was because I was putting too much weight bearing through my hands because I felt like my riding position was too far forward. And so I have a lot less of that. My initial handlebars, I ride, obviously I have slightly narrower shoulders than Nathan. I have pretty wide shoulders for a female, but they're still narrower than Nathan's. So I felt like my handlebars were too wide. It was super easy. We just took like this hacksaw, right? Hacksaw and just hacked it off. We went conservative, and then we decided if I wanted a little more off later, we could do that, but that was really easy to fit to me as well.
Yeah, and I like my handlebars wide. I feel more stable that way. Again, I ride a little bit more aggressively, so that works for me. But that was, I'm sure they would have done that, but we didn't ask for it,
Right.
and it came, and we just did that ourselves.
And I just, as a female, I have one little teeny tiny complaint. The seats that are made for men suck for a female. And at the time, they only had, they call them universal, which means male seats. And then I had to go and hunt down online and try and find the seat that I thought would work for me. Fortunately, it wasn't very expensive, and it fits really well, and I'm really happy with it. But for any ladies that ride mountain bikes, I don't know if you agree with me. I would love to see some comments in the comment box below. Ladies, can you ride a male seat or like a universal seat, or does that thing tear you up down there? So I highly recommend either, if Fezzari should get a couple of options for female seats, or you're going to need to get yourself a seat aftermarket. Outro try number 3.
So what's the final word? Is Fezzari custom or crap? Definitely semi-custom, which is great. I love my bike. Definitely not crap.
They're not crap.
They're
They're
not crap.
great.
They're semi-custom. Love my bike. I would completely recommend Fezzari bikes. Go online, do the measurement process, get a bike that's fit just for you, and I'm sure that you'll love it too.
Definitely consider going out to Utah and do some biking. We
Yeah,
haven't done that yet, but we got them out there.
Great skiing out there too. But join us on our next adventure. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.